Hey guys, welcome to The Argument. This is episode 12, is it? I think it's 12. And I'm really excited about this one because guess I got Becca Scoops. And Becca is the person that I consider to be the expert when it comes to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And you'll see why. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I was really excited about asking questions to Becca one-on-one, hopefully questions that will clear the air about Gypsy and show us who she is, very plain and simple in layman's terms, so that we can understand better what's going on and who Gypsy is and why she behaves the way she behaves, if we could figure it out. So guys, please enjoy this episode of The Argument. So I'm really, really excited and I'm honored, Becca. I know that, you don't like hearing that, but I consider you the expert on Gypsy Rose and her medical diagnosis and information and setting the record straight. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on this channel. And I appreciate you.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and I appreciate you inviting me to be here. So I'm excited. Yeah.
Well, so the first thing I want to ask you is there an Operation Raid? Because I'm using that as a hashtag. And
Yes.
is there, why not? Is there a truth movement? And what is it if there is?
So yeah, Operation Raid was kind of born organically after Gypsy said that she was going to be a cockroach and never leave the internet, never leave. And so I can't take credit for hashtag Operation Raid, but it's kind of taken off within the
Right.
Gypverse community. So that's where that comes from, Operation
Okay.
Raid. And the truth movement is just kind of like people that are in this community that are dedicated or passionate about getting the truth about Gypsy Rose Blanchard out to the wider public, basically. That the story is not over, that the story has not been told, really. The real story has not been told. And so we are a community, you're part of the community. We're all part of this little Gypverse world where that's kind of part of it. Now, some people are really into it, there's different types of people, I guess, in the Gypverse community, but I think and that's another kind of hashtag that's taken off, with whether it's Operation Truth Movement or hashtag Truth Train. That's another one people are using right now. Yeah.
I didn't know about Truth Train.
Yeah.
I knew about Operation. There's one. I think it's Operation Truth Movement or something that I'm also
Right.
besides Operation Raid. So there
Right.
was something that, and I don't know if this is part of it or not, but there was something that you were directing people to go to at one time. Is that true? Where it explained everything and what to do about Gypsy. What was that? Or
I'm not sure. Yeah.
okay, no worries, because I'll edit that
Okay.
out.
Yeah. I don't know. There's various,
It was
yeah, I'm
something
not.
you and Lori were doing. I thought you and Lori were doing, and there was some sort of
Oh, okay. So way back in the beginning,
okay.
several months ago, I came out with a post and I told people if they one thing that they could do was to start, Lori kind of put out a template.
Right.
I
Okay,
posted it.
right.
Yeah, and if you wanted to write letters to different outlets to say, "Hey, did you guys know about this?" And then it was just kind of an easy way to do it, just like bullet points,
Right.
about
So that was
different
part of the
things.
truth movement, yes?
Yeah,
Was that
that was
okay.
kind of the beginning of it, actually. It was kind of the beginning of it, really, is trying to engage the community in a different, and actually in a movement, where it was just hasn't really been a movement before that. And Lori came to me and said, "Hey, this is how it started." Lori came to me and said, "I was listening to one of your videos and I heard you at the end be kind of upset, saying, when is the mainstream media going to report this? When is one journalist just going to, step into the fire and
Right.
report this?" And she, emailed me and said, you know what? Why don't we do something about that? Would you like to do something about that? And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to do
Right.
something about
Sure.
that.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then she disclosed to me, she said, look, and she's been on different, mainstream shows. She's been on
Right.
Good Morning America. She's been on a lot of big shows. So she has contacts. She says, I do have contacts,
Right.
if we could get something together. And so that's kind of how that whole truth movement was born. And I said, we need to actually get the community involved in this because the more people, in comment
Absolutely.
sections, you know what I mean? Like, I
Right.
don't know
Absolutely.
if you saw where that, one content creator named Bailey Sarian who had
Yes.
I think you emailed me about that
Yeah. I
actually.
sent you an
Yeah.
email. Yeah.
Right.
And I
I
was
mean,
excited at
that
first because I emailed you right back and I was like, well, shit, I wrote you 2 emails like right away. I was
right.
excited about it. And then I was like,
Right.
well, she failed us. Yeah.
Right. And that was, to me, that was like big progress because she has 8 million followers
Absolutely.
and she
Absolutely.
was reading the comments, and that's the movement. That's the
Exactly.
community going to the comment section and saying, "Hey, wait a minute."
Right.
And it caused her to take the whole segment out of her video. That's huge.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's little baby steps like that we're seeing progress. And then behind the scenes, we're also working on trying to get together what's called a pitch for a network. And so that's a process. I've never done anything like that before in my life. So it's a lot of work, but it's a labor of love, I guess, or labor of
Right.
passion, for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So what is your main goal? Is your main goal to like clear Dee Dee's name? Is your main goal to just get the truth out there as far as Gypsy's lies?
Yeah, I think it's just I think the truth. I think if I think the public has a right to know the truth
That's
about
what I
her.
agree.
Yeah, because she's been such a she's been not I don't call her a celebrity, but she's infamous and she's well known and her story's been done over and over. And as somebody that's in the community before I knew anything about the truth, when I first found out and started discovering these things, I was a little bit miffed. I was like, wait a minute, why were we sold all these lies about this case? And yeah, I think the public has a right to know the truth about her. And that's not
Right.
because I want to punish her or I have some vendetta against her or anything like that. It's not that. It's that people need to know the truth and act accordingly. She's trying to be an influencer. So
Exactly. No,
great.
I get
Maybe
that.
she'll make it as an influencer,
Yeah,
but
but what's the
but everyone needs
influencing?
to know the truth before they invest in her.
Right. And people need to know the truth before they have their children over at her house or she
Right.
comes over to somebody else's house.
Right.
People, it's only fair that people know who they're inviting into
Yeah.
their home. I agree. I agree 1,000,000%. So I have some questions for you. And one of them was, what made you get on this case? How did you start with this case? So you started watching, you were in,
Right.
tell me.
Well, okay, so, I it was December 2023, and, I was my sons bought me this beautiful new, uh, TV. It's huge, and so I was watching it, around the holidays, and I started watching YouTube, and I started seeing all these people celebrating Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and I had watched the act. I love stuff like that, and,
Right.
so I was like, "Oh, wow." And I believed the whole story. I believed the whole Munchausen thing. And but at first I was a little bit taken aback by this whole celebrating her. You know what I mean? Like I thought, "Wow, that's good. She's getting out, poor thing." But the celebration of her and making her into this pseudo celebrity, I was a little like perplexed by that. At the same time, my job that I had worked for 8 years had come to an end, and I'm like, "Well, am I just not gonna do anything now?" At our age, right? I'm like thinking,
Right.
"Well, but I wanna do something," so I was watching all these true crime YouTube channels, and I turned to Mitch and I said, maybe we could do a true crime YouTube channel. And he's like, he's very good with computers and stuff like that. So he said, yeah, let's do it, because he's retired too. And so
and he's
we were
he's a retired detective. Yes?
detective
Right.
San Diego Police Department. He's retired from there over 20 years as a detective.
And
So
you were a nurse. And you were a nurse.
yeah, yes, registered nurse. Yeah,
Right.
I worked primarily at USC Medical Center, first in their psych department, their locked ward, and then I went to something totally different and became trained as a cardio ICU nurse. So yeah, that's my background basically.
Right. Right.
And so we were just going to do one video on Gypsy, because at the same time, isn't that funny? I can't believe it.
I remember your first video, man. It blew us away. Like,
Yeah,
that's what happened. People, I can tell you what happened, because I was one of those people that were like, give us more, give us more, give us more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So at this, it was just like the perfect timing. So she's getting out. It's like, December 2023. She's getting out. And so we just made this video. It took us from January to April. April is when it first came out. We started working on it in January. Mitch had to learn how to do the editing stuff, the very fancy kind of editing stuff in Adobe Premiere Pro. I don't know how he does that. I couldn't. He taught himself how to do it.
Right.
And so that's why it took that long to make the first video. And at first he was like, the first time I recorded my voice, he's like, you've got to tone it down. He goes, you've got to tone it down. And I took, you know what? Usually I don't get offended, but I don't know. I was so offended by that when he said it. I just like looked at him like, whatever. And was like, what? We're like a big argument about that. I said, I know what I sound like. I know how. He's like, no, just like, this has got to be like unbiased. You got to come across,
Right.
And
right.
So I had to redo the audio part of it, but he was right, because
Listen, I think that honestly, I think that you're unbiased. I think that what's up with Gypsy, but I think, like everybody, it infuriates you. You know what I mean? Like, I think, like you said, you believed everything until when? Until
I started researching it. It was because I saw, a forensic psychologist, and two of them say that they didn't think Dee Dee met the criteria for Munchausen. That's what made me go, we're going to do Gypsy Rose Blanchard, because I'm like, well, wait a minute. If she didn't have Munchausen, if that's not, then what is all these documentaries based on? They all say she had it.
right.
I thought it was a done deal. She had been diagnosed with this.
Right. Because that's what it gives you right. It took, there's no question about it. That's not saying that it can't be diagnosed when somebody's you know what I mean? They diagnosed it posthumously,
posthumously. Yeah. Well, I thought at least that she got a plea deal. And I thought, well, of course, experts. I even thought more than one had to have gone through those medical records to at least convince the prosecution that this was what happened in this case. And those were the mitigating factors then, I assumed. And that Dee Dee had this, that experts had looked into the whole case, and that they had offered the prosecution these expert opinions on this, and none of that happened. There wasn't one expert on it, not one expert. So I was shocked by that. Mitch was shocked by that as a former detective, or retired detective. He's like, how did that happen? How did that plea deal happen?
Right.
And yeah, you would say, our family would be more pro police, right? We would be more pro prosecution. But the truth is the truth. And if something weird is going on, we can't cover it up, just because we're pro police, because, my son's a deputy sheriff, Mitch is, it's in our family. So of course we want to back police officers, but if they do something wrong, of course not. Or if a prosecutor does something wrong, well, no. And that was one of these cases that made me feel a little uncomfortable at first, coming at it from that angle, having to say, I think the prosecutor didn't do the correct thing here in this
Right.
case. But
Right.
yeah, it's just shocking when you first learn all of this, and then you think that her accomplice, Nicholas Godejohn, will be in prison for
For the
life.
rest of his life. For the rest of
It's
his
just
life.
like, how did that happen? Because he actually did have real, mitigating circumstances because
Yeah.
he's level 2 autistic. Whether he should be out or not, I don't know, but at
He
least
should have at least had a fair trial. That's the
right. It
thing.
should have been considered. It should have been considered, and it wasn't. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
No, he should have had a fair trial. So, um, let me ask you, what was the biggest surprise with Gypsy as far as the things that you found out? Not the stuff that we talk about on the other channel, but like the serious stuff, like the something medically or something that
Okay,
you
so
were
when
like,
I
wow.
started out researching this, I was very cautious, not to think. I did not think that probably all of her medical procedures were warranted in the beginning. I thought that her mother, in doing the research on her mother, this is my beginning, and I'm a little bit different now in my take, so I'll tell you where I was in the beginning. In the beginning, I thought Dee Dee was a con woman who was scamming. I thought that because she had a history of that. She had a little history, not anything really major, but some bad checks, and people had been saying that she ran up their credit cards, the father's credit card. There was just some things in her past, and so she was wanted for bad checks. That's true. And then because we know Gypsy can walk, and Gypsy's in the wheelchair, right? So right
Right,
there,
right,
there's
right.
proof. Okay, Gypsy can walk, and why in the hell was she in the wheelchair all the time? That this was kind of something that was going on. And so at first I was thinking, okay, and I didn't know about that she was actually ill. So in the beginning, I thought probably Dee Dee was scamming, and that Gypsy was at some point Gypsy decided to go along with it. But I was convinced in the beginning that Dee Dee didn't have Munchausen, because the main thing, if you just want to boil it down to one thing in Munchausen, is the person who has it has to do it for no monetary gain. Meaning they would do it. They would like
Make their
do
kids
these
sick.
elaborate, making the person ill or feigning the symptoms with their child, if there's no monetary gain. Would Dee Dee have done it? That was my question, and to myself and these other forensic psychologists that weighed in and said, no, her main motivating factor was that it was the monetary gain. And so since it's the monetary gain, then according to the diagnosis, you can have Munchausen if that's your
Okay.
main motive.
Right, 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 right,
Right.
right,
And
right,
I
right,
was
right.
convinced that was Dee Dee. My opinion, and these other forensic psychologists agreed, the main motive for Dee Dee was getting the external rewards,
Right.
the trips or the
The
habitat,
malingering
whatever.
more or less, right? The malingering. That
Right,
was going
right.
under
And
that
so I didn't
category.
know about the microdeletion. That was what Gypsy was diagnosed with back in 2011. Nobody knew. So at first I thought that.
How
So even with,
convenient, right? That she was
yeah,
diagnosed with it in medical records for how many years now? A decade, more than a decade, right?
2011 was when
And
it was
and
diagnosed.
and
Yeah,
14 years later, it finally comes out. Now
it
that's
comes out.
right. So I'm
Right.
sorry,
And
but isn't that something?
yeah, and that she knew about it 8 months
Yeah.
before the murder. She writes a message to her friend Aaliyah
Aaliyah.
Woodmansey
Yeah, that's right.
telling her, "I have this,
Right.
and this is why I have all these medical symptoms." She writes that 8 months before the murder. So she was
Right.
well aware of it also. She was well
Right.
aware that that was
She
why
could
she
walk.
had. Well, yeah, she knew she could walk, but I think she also put together that the things that she had done to her, like the G tube and the salivary gland removal, these are probably two of the main procedures Gypsy had, were very warranted. And I think the most shocking thing then was to go when I find out about this chromosomal disorder that she's diagnosed with in 2011, and the murder takes place in 2015. So she knows about it.
Right.
that that there was so much workup by the doctors that there's no doubt, if you are reading it as a medical professional, you're like, yeah, these were warranted. Like every single thing that happened to her
Right.
was needed. And I
Yeah,
think
abso
that
I
shocked
agree.
me the most.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That
Wow.
it that
And
there
the
yeah, that
eyes and the surgery with the eyes, obviously,
well, she
because
admits to that's the only one she admits. She admits the surgery. She has admitted herself, yeah, I needed the eye surgery, but she still says she didn't need any of the other ones. And then of course, during her Dr. Phil interview, she said, I've had over 30 surgeries, and in reality, it's really, if you don't count, I think she had 4 eye surgeries. So she
yeah,
says those are valid. So let's not count those. So
right.
the ones that she is alluding to as being unwarranted were actually 4 different procedures. And one's just a muscle biopsy. That's, you're not staying overnight for that. And the most major one was 2 her salivary glands, and then she had a G tube placement, and then she had a laparoscopic procedure that helped. She had really bad heartburn, and she
Right.
had a lot of problems with her GI tract. She had problems swallowing. She couldn't swallow food properly. She was in a feeding hospital for over a month before she got her G tube.
I
I mean,
remember just seeing that on your video. You did a
yeah,
video where you went over that, and that she was for
right.
a month, and that
Yeah.
feeding was not there all the time,
Of course
and
not. And
and
so,
she
obviously, that is a doctors doing their due diligence before they put the G tube in, right? Her feeding tube in.
right, right.
They for a month they were trying to figure it out, but she only weighed 36 pounds, and she was about 8 years
8
old.
years
And they
old,
said,
you
we got
said
to
that.
put this in. We got to do this.
Right, right, right,
And
right,
I
right.
can't believe that Gypsy doesn't remember that as an 8-year-old. Of course, she remembers that
Yeah.
hospital stay. I think
It's
she's
just
even
not convenient.
yeah, she actually alluded to it in one live. She goes, yeah, I was in the hospital for a month. So she actually did. She always slips a little bit, on herself. But yeah, to me, that was shocking that every single thing that she had done medically that
Was
was needed
warranted.
was needed. And in fact, probably her mom saved her life, because if she wouldn't have had the G tube, well, obviously she would have starved to death or
Right,
been
right,
very
right.
malnourished and a sickly child if she would have survived. Yeah.
And would have been taken away from her mother, right? I mean,
Right, right. If you come in and see a kid at 8 years old, 36
and
pounds,
you
you're like,
don't
what
see
the hell's
her.
going on
Yeah,
here?
and there's
Right,
nobody trying to help her, absolutely. So let me
right.
ask you this, um, behaviorally, do you think that her behaviors are part of her micro deletion?
That's so hard to answer. That is so hard to answer. Now, based on the micro deletion that she has, it just says stuff like ADHD and schizophrenia. I don't believe she has those 2 things. Basically, what I believe Gypsy has, it falls under what's called the cluster B personality disorders. And so I don't think those are linked to the micro deletion. I think that is something else. Usually, cluster B personality disorders are not linked to a genetic condition or anything like that. So I think she's got like a narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. So
Do
no,
you
I
think
don't.
she's a sociopath?
I think she's a psychopath, which is something a little bit more serious, actually. And
So what's the
yeah,
difference
so
between
antisocial personality disorder is
Mhm,
what you would call someone who's a sociopath or a psychopath. So if you
okay,
have antisocial personality disorder, you're called a sociopath or a psychopath.
okay.
That's what that is. And that's probably one of the worst ones to have, because you can't feel real empathy. You don't, and it kind of like, and then she's got the narcissism too, right?
Well,
So
wait, let me interrupt you by asking you this. So Gypsy has recently just said that her caring is disconnected. That falls under that. Does that
that
have
right,
picture
that's another
perfect?
way of
Like,
saying I don't feel empathy, right?
right, right, right,
That's
right.
that's a way of admitting it, that I can't feel what you feel. I think that's why. I think I knew she had it when she was on that Nick Vile Files interview, and she could not understand why people had an issue with her saying, I don't identify as a
Okay.
murderer. I didn't do that. And that kind of dialogue coming out of somebody that killed their own mother
And was
shows
convicted
that
of second-degree
disconnect.
murder.
It shows the disconnect
Right.
of what she thinks she's responsible for, or taking accountability for that. Like, in her mind, literally in her mind, she is not accountable for that crime, because she didn't do it.
Well, let
Actually
me
do it. You know what I
but let
mean?
me ask
In
you
her
this.
mind, in her mind.
In her but I disagree with that, and that's nobody's
Yeah.
gonna be able to know that. But here's the
Right. Right.
let me
But
go
yeah.
ahead. No, go ahead,
Even
go ahead.
even if you think she took part in some way in it, in her mind, she's still not responsible for it, because her mother made her do it, basically. You know, that it's that she's the victim, not her mother. She's the victim.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So at the beginning, when they unalive her, and I'm gonna say they, because
Mhm.
Gypsy played a part in it
Oh, yeah.
at
Played
the
the
very
biggest role. The biggest role.
exactly. She set it all up
Right.
and talked somebody
Right.
into it for 2 years. So we know that. She's the Manson in this. We know that.
Right.
But after she gets arrested, and even before that, she tells Nick, after he's unalived, as far as he's concerned, unalived, after he didn't want to, what a great mom she was.
Mm.
He says that, right?
Mhm.
What's that about? Do you know, like, where does that come from in anything? Can you speak on that at all?
Yeah, I don't know. I think she's got a lot of sadistic qualities to her
Right.
too. So I think telling Nick that was a way to just see his reaction. Like, these people kind of revel in being a sadist, and seeing people in pain, I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but it's true.
No,
So,
I believe it.
they enjoy inflicting emotional pain on
Because there's no
people.
other reason to do that.
Yeah,
There
so
would
I
be
think
no
that's what
reason.
that's about, inflicting emotional pain on him and watching him squirm and watching him react to it.
Okay,
She enjoys it.
now what about her reaction? Because when she first came out, she wasn't going on and on about this stuff with her mom. Her mom was overprotective.
Mhm,
She didn't say these horrible things. A piece of, she says a piece of mom, but she meant piece of shit mom. We know that.
mhm,
To me, I dropped my jaw, and I've seen a lot of
mhm,
Gypsy at that point. But when
mhm.
she said that about her mom, that infuriated me. So why has it gone from when she got out to her mom being, she was overprotective, to she is a piece of shit mom? What happened there? Did you not, you see that,
Oh,
right?
I see the evolution of that, and I believe it's because she, cannot stand that there are people who are hashtag justice for Dee Dee. She cannot stand that she is not the ultimate victim in everyone's eyes, and so it infuriates her to the point, how she is, that she is trolling around the internet, looking at comments. She cannot stand any criticism at all, at
Yeah,
all.
she's in
She's
my
got the
comments a
clap
lot.
back. Mhm. Got the clap back even at
Let
the
me ask you this,
smallest
is she ever
creators.
in your comments? Are you aware?
Never.
Ash Blonde 6 is never, she's in my shit. I invited her on my show.
I know.
Okay.
She's in your stuff, right? Did you invite
But I
her?
invited her. I said, I'm not gonna yell, I'm not gonna scream. Let's just talk about this. Let us
Right.
understand. Let us understand. Tell me your story. Let us understand.
Yeah.
So I don't think she's gonna do that. It would be wonderful if she did.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
let her talk. I
Of
would let her
course.
talk.
Of
Um,
course.
and
Yeah.
and I and because clear it up, then make it make sense to us,
Right.
because it doesn't make sense to us.
Right. Right.
So, do you think that Aurora has the micro deletion?
I don't know. Yeah, I have no way of knowing that at all. Some people if some people speculate that one of the reasons they don't show the baby is possibly that there's some kind of indication in the face that maybe, that's just speculation.
Right.
Right?
And they said something about her having Gypsy's eyes. Gypsy's
Right.
eyes are
Are
still,
very distinct and go with the micro deletion. That's for sure. Yeah.
yeah. So, who do you do we know who had the deletion in the family? Was it Rod? Was anybody ever tested for it?
No, well, so according to the medical records, I'm pretty sure it's in the medical records, Dee Dee was tested and was negative. So Dee Dee was tested according to Gypsy. Rod has never been tested. There is a minute chance or a smaller chance that microdeletion can develop without there being either parent involved. That's not usual, but it can happen, meaning that neither parent carries the gene for this and then it shows up in a kid. We don't know
Right.
why.
Right.
So I think Gypsy is saying that's what happened to her because she doesn't want to say it's from her dad's side. But I think a lot of people suspect it's from her dad's side.
Right. Because there was
Just
comparison
because of the looks wise, the
and
looks,
Mia as well.
Yeah.
And there was a comparison with Mia, and I don't mean to bash Mia at
No,
all.
but there is something with the facial features that are very similar. Yeah. Sorry, my phone.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Sorry.
No. Thank you though. So I think it was on Straight Out of Context that I saw that Gypsy had cancer. Did she have cancer? Lymphoma?
Okay.
Because
Yeah. So
yeah.
I kind of, let me just, I should have brought something. Okay. So here's where that comes from. And here's why I kind of said this last night. So I know I'm a real big stickler I need to be 100% sure before I say something, right?
Right.
Especially if it has to do with the medical stuff. I don't want, I'll make my opinion on things, but when it comes to the medical stuff, did she have leukemia? No, I haven't seen that. Now, what people are referring to is in the medical record. There's a note, and it says it's a nurse's note, and it says history of acute lymphoblastic leukemia, history of at age 5, in remission, resolved. Okay, now that's a nurse's note. In that same nurse's note, it says paraplegia since birth, etiology unknown.
Well, what's etiology?
Cause. We don't know the cause of it. So
the cause for paralysis or the cause
right.
Of the
so in the same note as they're having the leukemia, saying the leukemia, they're also saying she was paralyzed from birth in the same nurse's note.
So do you think
we know that's not true, right?
Right. So do you think that came from Gypsy or the mother or Dee Dee?
So how it happens, as a nurse, when you go to a doctor's appointment, or if you've ever had a surgery, the nurse will come in and she'll start asking questions. Have you had prior surgeries? Have you had cancer? Have you had this? And she's just writing down what you say. Right.
Exactly.
And so, one of the things we know that Dee Dee did lie about certain things. We know that she was tested for muscular dystrophy, yet after the test was negative, Dee Dee was still telling certain doctors she has muscular dystrophy, right? She even mentioned cerebral palsy. And by the way, all of these conditions are chromosomal related, okay? And here's what I think happened with Dee Dee.
Okay.
I think when Gypsy was born with microcephaly and the sleep apnea and some other issues, the doctor said to Dee Dee, your daughter has some kind of a chromosomal issue. We know this is true because Rod says when Gypsy was 3 months old, Dee Dee told me Gypsy has a chromosomal issue. Okay.
I saw the same.
Now that was true. That was true because when a kid is born with microcephaly and these other things, the way Gypsy looks, they were like, something's going on here. We don't know exactly what it is yet, but they tell her that. And you hear chromosome. Now, the doctors throughout her life are trying to figure out, and I'm sure doctors mentioned to Dee Dee, well, maybe it's cerebral palsy, maybe it's muscular dystrophy, maybe it's this. And I think then Dee Dee then incorporated it. Oh, my daughter might have or has muscular dystrophy, or she has cerebral palsy. Now, the leukemia thing is something I think that developed possibly because that is a big, that you can get good benefits from kids' cancer societies, right? That is something that would be easy to scam. Once
The
it gets in
Make-A-Wish
the
Foundation is right
right,
on
once
top
it
of
gets in
Kids
the
with Cancer.
record, then if
Right.
the Make-A-Wish wants to know if the leukemia is true, Dee Dee can say, "Oh yeah, yeah, call it's in the doctor's notes," right? And
Right.
actually, it came from her.
Her,
Now,
right.
yeah, so now that's one possibility. And then I also say, of course, it's sure is it possible she had it? I'm sure of course anything is possible, right?
Right, right, right.
Anything is possible.
And
But
especially when you're a child, you grow out of so many things.
right, right.
And
And I
Gypsy
think
didn't help
that's
by
one of the
telling
leukemias that
untruths.
well, that's one of the leukemias you can be cured from. But in the medical records I have, at least, I have never seen her worked up. I've just only seen it mentioned, like I just mentioned to you. I've
Right.
never seen
Any
like
proof
them
of
doing
it.
testing on it,
Right.
or because Dee Dee's saying it's gone, it's over, it's in remission,
Mission, right,
But she
right,
could also say at the same token, oh, she's a cancer patient, right? She could
right,
always say she's a cancer patient.
right,
So, I don't know. I guess my point is I haven't seen definitive proof.
right, right. I
I've seen
understand that.
definitive proof about a lot of things with Gypsy's medically, like she needed her salivary glands out. I've seen proof of that. I've seen the testing that needed to happen for that to happen, right? But with this leukemia, it's just nurse's notes.
Right, right. So it
So
could have come from anybody and it could have had
right,
any
and then you've
reason
got
behind
Melissa
it.
Moore, who has talked out of her ass so many times in one interview say, "Oh, I've seen," I think she said, where Gypsy had a bone marrow transplant or
Yeah, I
something.
just heard that too.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, yeah, and you also said Gypsy didn't eat until she got to prison. So I don't know what to believe with that. I need
Right,
to see it, I guess, Toddy, is what I'm saying.
right, right,
I need to see the proof.
right. Well, there's a lot more medical records coming out from my understanding. Yes? Didn't I hear that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Fancy has said that she has more medical records. I don't know how much. I don't know. She did release some. She did release some. Then that was one way that we proved that Gypsy's uh, uh her supposed, they were going to cut her throat. The one thing
Right.
she notes is,
Take her
here's when I
voice. They were gonna right,
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 that
right, right.
never happened,
Of
that
course
this
not.
so-called surgery that she quotes in her memoir as
The
being
one that was the one that
the
made
final straw.
right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
That was it
Yeah.
for me. It was me or her. It was
Right,
me or
right.
her.
That's exactly
After
right.
that appointment, Gypsy said, after
I
that, I
think
went
you
to
know
that
the book
doctor,
better than Rebecca. I
and it
think you
was
know the
like,
book
I
better
think I
than her.
do. And it was like, well, that appointment never happened. So that's weird, right? But that was from some new stuff that Fancy had put out. Yeah. So I don't know though. I
So
don't
let me
know if
ask you this, and I'm not bashing Fancy, that's not what this is about at all.
right.
But let me ask you this question. Fancy has a lot more of that information. What do you think she's waiting on? To be honest with you, I mean, like, this we should all be. I think we should all be, me included, by putting things aside with Fancy, and we should all be on this truth train, trying
Mhm.
to get it out there
Mhm.
so that Gypsy's world becomes very, very small, and she
Yeah.
finally pays the price for what she did. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So,
Yeah.
why would anybody forget it, Fancy? Why would
Right.
anybody just hold on to those records that clearly it's in they're in the past now. I mean, these records
Yeah.
are in
Okay.
the past.
So as a content creator, I can see her wanting to be the first to go over them and maybe put out the information. I understand that. I did that with the information I got for Nick, that you want to, because we put a lot of time into our channels, right? And
Right, I
so I
understand that.
can
But
I
she's
can
had this
understand.
stuff
I can
for a while,
understand. Look, I'm going to talk about this on these certain videos so she can get views, and I
and
think
I get that. I
yeah,
get that, but she's had them for a while, yes? She's
I
had them.
think I think so. I think to be totally fair that she has mentioned that this is something she's going to do now, that's why she's talking about these other medical records. Maybe she just found them, maybe she
Okay,
didn't
that's
have
fair. Maybe she didn't know what
to,
she had. That's
right.
fair. That's
So
fair.
I would say, yeah, I would agree with you that, like, give her a grace period, get it, that information out. As a content creator, I get that. But
But let me
hopefully,
say
yeah, at some
something.
point, hopefully it will be shared with
Well,
everyone.
here's the
Yeah.
thing, and this isn't to threaten Fancy or anything like that, but they're gonna be released by somebody. Somebody's gonna release them, so she should get on it before
Mhm.
somebody takes that from her,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
she
again, it
should.
doesn't matter that it's Fancy, it's
Right.
anybody. But
Right.
actually, she has gold, in my opinion,
Oh,
because if
yeah.
you're the only one that has that,
Right.
break it
Right.
down and go over it.
Right.
Let us follow you along the way then. You know what I mean?
Right.
But let's
Right.
go with it. Let's go with it,
Right.
because the goal here again is to make Gypsy responsible for her actions,
Right.
and to
Right.
feel that way. Do you think that she
Absolutely.
would feel that way if like mainstream media and everybody kind of like, what how do you think she would respond to
I
that?
think she is so, evidence of her behavior, trying to change her Wikipedia page, trying to change her mother's Wikipedia page. This just happened recently. So she's been out for a while. So what was the main motivating factor for her to say, I got to go right now? I
Bailey
think that,
Sarian?
yes, I agree.
Bailey Sarian.
That people were going to start Googling her again. And she's really, really upset by this notion that she will be outed. She'll be exposed.
Okay, so let me ask you, what do you think is in store for her?
For her life, or for, like,
Like with everything that's coming about. I mean, do you think I think that ultimately people well, I've seen it on other content creators, bigger content creators that have started since the Bailey Sarian. Actually, Sloan talked about it. Sloan's
mhm,
got over 1 million people. So
right.
there are so many people, but like is there any kind now, do you think do you think she's capable of living any kind of real life? Like a normal life where
No.
you don't think she has it in her, do you?
No, I don't think no, I think she is someone who, due to her different, personality disorders, allegedly, I think that her life will be one of, if I had to, like, guesstimate, a few different marriages, possibly a lot of broken relationships.
I don't
I
see
don't.
her and Ken together in
Oh,
a
no, no,
year.
no, that won't last. And then there'll be, I don't know if she'll have more children or not, but I would see not good relationships with her children either. She's just someone who lives only for herself, selfish needs. And so I think to be truly happy person, you have to be more of a selfless person to give back to people and care about people, and that's what matters most. And she's not capable of that. And so at some point, yeah, people are going to stop hate watching her. Especially if the whole truth comes out, it will hit a crescendo, and then she'll be old news, once that happens. And I don't see her living I don't think she's capable of living a quiet, happy life, that she'll be constantly seeking the next big thing, and she needs this, what's called narcissistic supply. She needs people to constantly be giving to
Like a
her.
drug, like a drug,
Yes, it's
like
it's
a
very
drug.
much like a drug. So that's why she's on TikTok. That's why she's doing all the weird stuff she does on social media. Look at me, look at me, look at me,
And
right?
it doesn't matter that it doesn't look good. Some
No,
of
no,
it
she
looks
doesn't
really
care.
freaking
She
bad.
doesn't care. It's
Exactly.
just that she is being talked about. She is
Or
the
being
topic
made
of
fun of.
conversation.
Or being
Yeah,
made fun of, Becca. I
yeah,
mean, like her songs and her singing. I know she knows that she can't sing. Like,
right,
I mean, if you want to give that to your boyfriend or your fiance, whatever you want to call him,
right,
like give it privately, but that you're showing us, which we get an opinion on when you do that. Do you
right.
not have any private moments? I don't think she does. And
No, 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 she doesn't.
I see for her, to be honest with you, I see Ken taking the kid.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't think Ken, in good mind, would ever. First, I don't think his family would ever just go ahead, have her raise
right,
our
right.
grandchild. I just
Right.
don't see that happening,
No,
you know what I'm saying?
no.
So
Yeah. At some point, Ken is going to have to come to, Jesus moment and understand that who this person is. And probably it's going to be over the daughter. They'll probably be at some point where something happens and he's just going to go, you know what? I'm done. I'm out of here because she uses the daughter as a prop for
right.
her social media.
I mean, Becca, I mean, like, I've never had a kid, but even did you see, I don't know, it looked like she was feeding she had fed the baby. There were like 5 like Cheerios, but they were look like stars. You saw that, right? And then there were
Yeah.
2 of those, they look like the Belvita crackers, you know what I'm talking about? But
Yeah.
then there was a plate, I mean, a bowl that looked like and it probably wasn't, but it kind of looked like ravioli with the red sauce on it, right?
Right.
And did you see the spoonfuls that were going into that kid's mouth?
No,
Like, you
I
should
didn't.
check out that video. I don't understand. I understand the 5 little things. I understand,
Right.
but and Gypsy doesn't. She does not pay attention to that child when she is doing a live stream. I saw that myself. I
Yeah,
saw
that's
that
true.
myself.
Yeah.
You know, so do you she says she's disconnected. We've talked about it. Do you think she's capable of being a good mom? A mom that I mean, do you think to me, you have to think ahead of your child, right? You know that a child's gonna put their finger in a light socket. You know that a child's gonna go up to an oven. You know that. So you know to prepare yourself for that, prepare the child for that. Get the covers, get the door latches, get the stuff. Do you think that she thinks like that?
No, I remember when I got pregnant at 19 and my mom was just started crying. She goes, "Your life as you know it is over," you know?
She wasn't lying,
I had
right?
no idea. I had no idea that when you become a mother that your life as you know it is over. And of course, if you're a normal person and you have normal feelings for your child, you'll die for that child. But it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And I've done a lot of hard things in my life, but having a kid full time, 24, it is, you have got to just say to yourself, I don't matter anymore. You know what? I'm totally dedicated, especially when they're toddlers and, like you said, putting their, touching things and
They're
putting
curious
everything in their
about
mouth. They can
everything.
swallow anything, and it's so tiring. And I look at her and I think there's no way she's raising that kid full time. The way she's got all this time to do stuff. I guess maybe Christy has the baby a lot. I know. I don't know.
I
Then she's
can't imagine that. You know why? Because I I don't think I don't think Christy cared much about Gypsy. So why would
no.
she
I agree
care?
with that.
So why would she care about her baby? Why would she
I think I
inconvenience
think
herself?
Christy I think Christy is very she's had a very troubled relationship with Rod, right?
So you
And
think it benefits that?
I think Christy's main focus is hanging on to Rod, and I think this is Rod's granddaughter. So I think it's not about Gypsy with Christy, it's about Rod and the
You know, it's
relationship
funny.
with this child.
Yeah, I talked about that on a video saying that I thought that too, but then I didn't
Yeah.
think Rod cared enough about his own
And
child, let alone his grandchild.
that could be too true, but I think that maybe Christy's mind, it's like, look, Rod won't leave me because he knows somebody's got to take care of this baby. It's not going to be him. And maybe he's not as engaged as he should be as a grandfather. I don't know.
Or as a
But I
parent,
but
right?
but I
Or as a
think
husband.
right, but I think Christie's whole thing has always been the major fear is Rod will leave, right? We know he's had affairs. We know
Right,
all of this. And so if she is indispensable as the surrogate mother of this child, just like she was the mother of his children,
right,
I think that's what she's connecting it to. Like, well, he stayed with me because I had these children by him. And maybe by the same token, if I become indispensable
right,
as the main caretaker of this
right,
child, that is his grandchild, and
right,
he's probably got some feelings towards the grandchild, maybe not as I don't know, but I think he does. Like in Rod's mind, he's a good dad because he provides for the family, right? Maybe he wasn't
right.
as engaged, but then he has this woman here who takes care of his children.
Right,
I
right,
think
right. So
Aurora
he does
falls
his
into that
part.
category.
He brings
Yeah.
home the bread, right? He works, he
Right.
brings home the bread, right? Yeah,
Right.
I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, I get that. But,
And
you don't think at all that, Raina, or Ken's mom, because I picture her having the baby more than Christy.
yeah,
I mean,
I
that's what I
I
picture,
think
but
because she lives out of state, right? That she's not
Texas?
close, and so that's not an option right now, but I would say you're right. If Ken ever does leave, that he will go to Texas and be
Yeah,
with his
absolutely.
mother and be with his
Right.
mother, and
And I
then
think you get custody of the baby. I mean, I
oh, I
really
think
do think you get.
are you kidding? With her yeah, her
Yeah.
criminal background? Yeah, that's a done deal. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. What do you think happened that night? What do you think happened that night, Becca? The night of
Of the
July, yeah, July 10th or July 9th.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
June 9th
so
or
there's so
June
much
10th.
so let me can I ask you?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think there's so much speculation around there's so many conspiracy theories or discussions around like did Gypsy take part in it? Did she not take part in it? Were all these other people involved? Why do you think there's all of that discussion? Where do you think that comes from?
Well, I listen, I think that Gypsy, because we talked about this, Gypsy likes gore.
Mhm.
Gypsy gets off on gore. I think that that's something that excites her sexually. I'm sorry, I do. I
Mhm.
think that um I can't imagine her not partaking in that when she um
Yeah.
I just can't imagine her not partaking in it. She saw it in her head. Everything
Right.
she said to Nick, she had to see in her head, including giving a
Right.
baby up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's
Right.
something that's played out in your head before
Yeah.
you write that shit down.
Yeah.
So,
I
I can't see her. I think that she got off on that.
yeah.
That's why. And it's her
Right.
behavior that
Right.
has shown
So
that. That's
I will give you that. I will say there was no indication that there was anyone else in that house besides Dee Dee, Gypsy, and Nick. Okay. There's no DNA of anyone else in that house besides those people. So I guess what I get a little like crazy about is people thinking that because can we agree murder is a pretty bad crime?
Oh,
That
yeah.
to murder somebody, to actually be a part of a murder as just
Any
an
part of it.
everyday thing.
Fucking any
Well,
part of it. Whether you're
why
driving
would
somebody there and knowing that you're the person that is going to do the murder and you're just a driver, abso-fucking-lutely. You are
yeah.
yes, we can agree on that.
Yeah, and so I guess when I'm talking about these peripheral people, people like to bring up Dan Glidewell or David Blanchard or all of these people, and I'm just like, it drives me crazy because I'm like, murder is a really bad thing to be a part of, and what would the reason be they're taking part in it? And then I hear all these other crazy conspiracies about, well, there was cigarette butts there was
Yeah,
drugs involved, and
yeah.
it's like do you know how hard it is if there's a conspiracy like that for no one to talk, for no one to come forward, for no one, and then there's no evidence of it, and then like murder's bad, right? I mean, if somebody was like, Toddy, you know what, I'm gonna murder my mom, do you want to help? I mean, you're like, get the fuck away from me, right?
And
You're
then if
like,
something happened to your mom, I'd be like, "They tried to get me in on
right,
it."
right. And
So, here,
so,
I don't
yeah.
think that so I don't think that Dan was there, but I do
No.
think that the intent I think Gypsy did it so that she could be with Dan. That's what
I
I
think she
think.
was hoping ultimately at some point. Yeah, I agree with that.
But
That
I think but here's another problem, and I know I'm interrupting, but this is
no, that's
something that
okay.
I'm really passionate about
Yeah.
is we believe that Dee Dee died at 2 a.m. um on the morning of June 10th.
Right.
That's the date?
Yes.
But we only have that belief because of Gypsy's timeline. Is that correct?
The text messages between them. Right.
It doesn't mean that Dee Dee was alive when she was making those text messages, because one of
No,
those text
we
messages
don't know.
clearly said, "I've given my mom her sleeping pill. She
Mhm.
won't wake up." And there was nothing in her system.
Right.
So perhaps that falls along the category of she was dead when he got there and not to expect anything. I think that the memories that Nick has, he believes. But I think Gypsy put those memories in his head. Like,
Mm.
don't you remember? Like, didn't you hear my mom? I heard my mom.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So do you think that she went in the bathroom and then he got up on the dead body and started? Okay.
That's what I think. I do, because I believe Nick. I don't believe Gypsy. I do believe,
Yeah.
but there's parts in Nick's interrogation that I don't believe. The Barney, I don't believe. I believe he saw that Barney, because I did a video about that where right away he says yes. And
Right.
then he thinks about it as if, oh my God, I'm not supposed to mention, or Gypsy put the Barney there. I can't mention the Barney. And then he says
Right.
with the same conviction, no.
Right.
And he
Right.
doesn't do that. There's not a pattern of that until he tells an untruth, in my opinion, by just
Right.
watching him.
Right. Right. That's a good point. Yeah.
But here's the thing. We have a liar who we're trusting with a timeline. Because
Mhm.
just because she wrote, I've given my mom the sleeping pill and he came and we have a taxi and a
Mhm.
time, that doesn't mean she could have been killed the night before Nick even got there. She has referred to June 9th a couple times.
I would say that's true. I would say because of the body not being found until the 15th, if we're going to go along with that scenario, the closer you get to the 10th to the timeline. So I wouldn't put it out another 24 hours because the body would be pretty, you now you're saying the body's laying there from the
No, no,
9th, the
no.
10th, the
Nope.
11th,
No,
the
no, I'm
12th.
not. Nope. I'm saying that if Gypsy unalived, 4 hours. I'm talking
Oh,
4
if it no,
hours.
that's what I mean. If it's a couple hours
I'm
between
talking
that,
four
then
hours. I'm
fine, but
talking.
not like 24
Oh,
hours
no, 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 no,
before.
no. I
Yeah.
think he died on the 9th, but I
Because
think
we saw her the night before, right at the hospital. So we saw
yeah,
Dee
no, no,
Dee,
no. I
right,
think that she died maybe 2 hours before,
before
or
Nick
maybe
got
right
there.
before Nick got there. But
Okay.
but see, it's too bad. It's too bad because those 4 hours
Mhm.
can clear Nick like that. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because we know when Nick got there. We know that from the text messages, but we don't know when Dee Dee died from those text messages. We know when Nick got there. So we don't know really what Nick walked into. We are going by a liar on that.
Well, yeah,
Is that
that's true. That's true. Now this
that's
would
a
be a weird
huge
it would
thing?
be a weird it would be a weird legal question because I guess he would be obviously if something like
What
that
if
was
she
ever
died at
proven,
what if she
that he
died
would get a new trial, but I
what if
don't
she
but
died at 10 p.m.? What if she died at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m.
but he
on
still
the
took part
9th?
in the conspiracy. He would still
That's
be in
fine.
prison. Yeah,
That's fine. But
but the
if
truth
she
would be out
died,
there. Right.
and who we're believing is a pathological liar. And that's a huge thing, because if she did die on the and she's mentioned the 9th a few times, and if she
Mhm.
did die at 10 or 11 o'clock that night, then Nick didn't murder anybody. And nobody could say he's wrong at what he did 1000%, but those hours matter. And the fact that Gypsy's the one that's responsible for that timeline, and that bothers me. I know that there's nothing we could do about that, but that is
No.
huge, huge question mark, because if we could be a fly on the wall, I really
Yeah.
think that Nick unalived an unalived person. It's not funny, but that's just
No.
how fucking crazy is that to think that. It's true though. It's absolutely true.
I I think at this point Nick would know, right? I mean, he's always said that there's something he's not telling. I mean, I mean, he's not crazy, he's autistic, but
No,
and we
I do think he thinks that he unalived a I mean, a live person. I think again, Gypsy put didn't you hear her? I heard her scream. I think that she convinced him of memories, because listen, you walk into something, right?
Mhm.
And you start stabbing somebody. I mean, God knows what the hell you're thinking about.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm not
He
calling him
did
a
say she said stuff, so do you think that was put in his mind too?
I
That
do. I do, because can you imagine, you walk in there, I mean, you stab somebody right away. how much is she really gonna say? I don't see it. I just don't. I mean, I don't. I I think that Nick unalived an unalive person. I think that a lot of the things that he remembers were put there. Maybe
Yeah.
Gypsy's pretty creative. Who knows what she
Yeah.
could have done? She could have had a tape recorder for all we know. I mean, it's a shitty thing to say, but I mean, what's weird is that Gypsy says this with her legs and that she lied to her mom. We believe that. But Gypsy says this and we can't believe that. You know what I'm
No, I
saying?
know.
There's
Yeah,
like,
I know. It's the conundrum of Gypsy, right? It's like the certain things. I know. Sometimes we have confirmation bias because we want to believe certain things,
right,
and then
right.
if Gypsy says something we don't like, it's like, well, that's not true, you know. So it's like, right, you know,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I wonder though, I guess my only pushback on that argument, and I'm open to anything, is that I know that Gypsy shot her mom. So she is she is able to do violence. I do know though that there is a huge psychological difference. I know you're saying that Gypsy likes the gore and she likes that, but I've never done this. Maybe I should do some research into this. There's a huge psychological difference between somebody. See, shooting somebody is not an up close and personal crime.
Correct.
Stabbing somebody is.
And
Raping
strangling
somebody
somebody.
is. You know what I mean? These are
Yeah.
face to face. It takes a certain kind of person to be able to do this, unless it's self-defense. You know, if it's
Right, right,
self-defense and you got to stab somebody, you're going to stab somebody.
right,
But the
right.
actual doing of something like that, I always
Planning
wondered
it.
if Gypsy had it in her to. I
Plan
know
it.
she likes the gore. I know she likes
She
gross
did the
stuff. And
video. I mean, she did the
yeah,
instructional video. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
I wonder if she's ever been. I wonder if she was ever physically violent towards her mom. That would be
So
interesting to know.
that was a question that I wanted to ask you. So I don't know how much you can share, but on the autopsy of Dee Dee,
Yeah.
what okay, like Gypsy had, as we all have spoken about, the bruised knuckles. We've seen the pictures of the yellow knuckles, okay? So black and blue. Um, and
I
was there
think
anything on Dee Dee that would anything happen
no, I
physically to
think
Dee Dee?
Gypsy's, and I know this is going to be, I was saying this last night on my live. I know sometimes Becca Scoops says things that gets people in the Gypverse very upset. My pushback to so I always look at all possibilities, right? What else could it be? What else could it be? These bruised knuckles. And I was rewatching the interrogation and they're taking the different pictures of Gypsy. They're taking it and she pulls up her pant. She's wearing sweatpants or something, and she pulls up to show the detective these really bad rug burns on her knees. And I don't want to get too graphic here, but I'm just thinking about the type of stuff they were doing together. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking of her in this kind of a position, and this might be where
Oh,
the
I
bruised
understand.
knuckles come from. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
like
she,
doggy style. We got it.
yes, 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 yes. Yes,
Or
Toddy.
gypsies. It would
So
be horse
right.
style
And
with
we know she
gypsies.
likes all that stuff, right? She
Yes,
likes all
yes.
that rough stuff and she likes, and so when I saw that, I was thinking because no, I mean, I went over the autopsy with Mitch. We really went over it and there was nothing like there was a beating that went on. You know what I mean? There was no signs of that.
Now,
So I was.
people did see things on the face around.
Well, because the way she was laying on when she
Okay,
was left, it displaced her nose and it made
okay.
it look like somebody probably had punched her nose, but that was untrue in the autopsy. That it was just because she was left laying in that dependent position. And so, yeah.
Did they check to see if she was raped?
Yes. She
And
was
she
not.
was not.
No.
Okay, because you know that was a big thing with the interrogation where they
Well, because Gypsy had implied that, right? Gypsy had said, well, and I let him
yeah, get me before, yeah.
before because he wanted to do it with my mom and that whole thing. That's a whole other discussion because I think a lot of that too Gypsy put in his mind that their weird sexual relationship, it was weird, and a lot of it was based on most of it was based on Gypsy and her likes and dislikes, and so she had these fantasies, you know what I mean? She's the one that
Very
had the
bad.
R fantasies,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, very bad.
Uh,
Yeah, and she even talked about how she liked when, Ken, her.
right.
So
Right.
she
She
likes
likes
it
this.
rough.
This is
She
what she
likes it very
likes.
yes, yes. I have
Yes.
concerns because that same thing to me, that same behavior comes from somebody who thinks about giving up their 13-year-old child to a
Mm,
dad. That same mindset, that same way
yeah.
of thinking,
Yeah. It's
you
just
know?
sick. Right. And she doesn't realize how sexually inappropriate she is. I mean, we see it in the prison emails all the time. She's just hypersexual right away with people. It's odd, you know?
Yeah, that's weird. Is that part of the micro deletion, do you know?
I don't think so. Some people have said it's linked to hypersexuality. I didn't find that, but no, I think it's just her. It's just her. It's just her, part of her personality disorders. She's just hypersexual and
And
she
totally inappropriate about it.
yeah. And the kind of things where people say things um where it's inappropriate and everyone's like going, "Oh my god, did they just say that?" And
Right.
she's the kind of person that does that, right? She'll say
Yeah.
something so off color that everyone else is looking around the room like, "That's not even funny. That's gross," you know? Yeah.
Unless they're her mindless minions and they consider that, just regular old kink.
I guess regular old banter.
All right, so I have one more question and
Okay.
then we'll end this. And I appreciate you
Oh, no
being here.
problem. Yeah.
What do you want everybody to know
What do I
about
want? No, I'm just kidding.
what do you want? What do you want everybody to know about Gypsy Rose? Two questions. What do you want everybody to know about Gypsy Rose? And what do you want everybody to know about Dee Dee?
Wow, I want everyone to know that Gypsy Rose Blanchard is a dangerous individual who should not be influencing anyone on the internet. And there's a whole story behind her that everyone needs to know about. Um, Dee Dee is a totally person that has been vilified by her sick daughter, narcissistic, antisocial personality daughter, and she deserves also for the truth about her. Was she a perfect person? No. Who is? Who's a perfect person? But was she a monster? No, Dee Dee Blanchard was not a monster. In fact, she probably saved her daughter's life with a lot of the things she did. And she tried to give her daughter the best life possible. Was some of it kind of weird? Yeah. Was some of it kind of scammy? Yeah. But you know what? She wasn't a monster and she lived for her daughter. She lived for her daughter
And
and
she died for her
I'm sure
daughter.
she could and she died for her. And and I think in the very least people need to know her story. I think we owe that to Dee Dee because of how everything went down with Gypsy and a horrendous murder. No matter who
Yeah.
did it, horrendous. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I agree 100%. It's always justice for Dee Dee, justice for Dee. Well, I
Yeah.
thank you, Becca Scoops, for taking the
Thank you,
time
Toddy. I
and
enjoyed
coming on
being
my
with you.
channel,
All
and
right.
I'm so grateful to you, and I
Oh, no
appreciate you.
problem.
And
All
I'm your
right.
number
Thank
one fan,
you.
my friend. Thank
All
you.
right.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye, bye. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I did. I learned a lot, and even though there's a lot of stuff that we already knew about Gypsy, being able to place it and understand it, even in hindsight, because it's 2020, is just an awesome thing. I can't thank Becca Scoops more for joining me on my channel and giving the argument a true argument. And don't forget, guys, anytime you have anything to stand on, make sure it starts with a strong argument. Take care, guys. I thank you so much.